touch the
into
spice
sport mode
toggle.
and, yeah,
Ooh.
there you go. The spice toggle.
The spice toggle. It's like the Spice Girls, only it's a toggle in toggle form. Hey, we're in the 2022 Mini Cooper JCW.
It's cool.
The thing that I like the most about this is people's perception. When you tell them you're driving a Mini, it's like a Miata. It's everybody who says, the Miata. I say, no, the Miata is the fastest car on track, and it will come around track and chew on you, and then it will pass you, and then leave you in the dust.
Yep.
That's kind of the feeling about the Mini. It's the car that you forgot about when you're shopping for a hot hatch, because it's the car I forgot about.
Yeah.
I forgot how good it was. The best thing is, even though the GP exists, the JCW offers the manual transmission. It is not offered on the higher horsepower car. You only get the auto. But here, you've got a genuine manual transmission, and the coolest part is, upon clutch take-up, it's like the entire length of the clutch is one full rotation of the tires. It's just instant. And you look down and you think, 90. What the?
When did that happen?
What the heck?
Great cars, great roads, and all the reasons we love to drive.
TV, web, and podcast. This is Everyday Driver.
The Mini is one of those cars like the Miata, yes, where I think everybody just kind of likes it. You may not want one, but you never say to anybody, I drive a Mini, and they think you're a jerk.
Right.
The Mini's just a lovable little car, and it has been around in this new form when BMW resurrected it in the early 2000s. It's been around for 20 years now like that. And I've been thinking about that a lot because I had Spot the Mini. He was a 2003. He was nearly 20 years older than this car.
Yeah.
So as I've been driving it this past week, I've been thinking about all the similarities and differences to that car from 20 years ago. Because on one level, it's much different. But on another level, they've carried so many things forward to say, this is still a Mini.
Yeah.
And the thing I do like about it is, in spite of the fact that the Mini is no longer Mini.
It's not.
Just so you know, it's
It's
not
a
a
small
small car.
car.
It's a small car, but it is not a small car like the Mini used to be. It is significantly bigger.
Right.
But it is still very, very fun.
The cool thing is, it's usable. Think, normal adults don't fit in that. That's a child's toy, right? No, it's great. I could see this on a road trip. You can actually get people in the back. When
you need to, you can.
When you fold those seats down, there's gobs of space. But the backseat room is great because of the tall roof.
Yes.
The A-pillar is shoved all the way forward, so the windshield is way out there. It's like looking at a TV at the world. You're just looking at the TV screen.
I like this widescreen. That seems so real.
It's like one of those
so real.
Curved TVs, yeah.
Is this OLED?
It is. Look at the crisp resolution.
It's got to be at least 4K. It has to be.
Everywhere I drive this car, I have to keep my foot out of it because it's so quick.
Yes.
This car has that magical 2-liter engine, 228 horsepower. It doesn't have the 258 pound-feet of torque like it does in the Grand Coupe BMW. It's 236, but it still moves because it's 2,900 pounds.
It should be. It needs to be
small and light. I love how this handles through corners. You want to go attack roads in this car.
Yes.
And the best part is, who cares that it's front-wheel drive? I don't care.
Yeah. We joke about hatchy and handly. This is the poster child for that. And it also, if you ever wonder what the word chuckable is, you need to drive a Mini Cooper. Chuckable is the word.
Chuckwagon.
For sure. It's just Chuckwagon. You just toss it into corners and it just feels up on its tiptoes and one to bounce around all the time. It's really very funny.
There's that German car feeling here, of course, because BMW. There's a solidity to it. Combined with all that cleverness that Mini has traded their name on for all of the years.
Yes.
Everything's just too clever and too cool. Look at the door handles. The lock buttons are integrated into the handle. When you pull it,
they love using their circles, don't they?
Yeah, they do. But they're so clever about everything.
Yes, they are.
All right. Oh, look at that. I went all the way into the checkered flag zone.
Now with more checkered flag.
When you're in sport mode, this has Rev Matching. Does not exist in regular normal comfort mode, and the car's still quick. But when you're in sport, you get that cool Rev Matching. I don't mind it, to be honest. See that clutch take up? It's like a 1-to-1 ratio.
It's
one length,
it's very aggressive.
One rotation, and you're gone.
I feel like the take up is only like the first inch of the entire pedal travel. It takes some real getting used to. I struggled with it for the first day or so. Like, what's going on here?
It's not that normal slippage.
No, it's not.
Just, it's gone.
It's all of a sudden.
To move. There's a lot of raw character to this, and that's what I love that Mini hasn't lost.
True.
It's a little bit distant because you've got the weight over the front tires, but this car is just fun. dimensions.
It definitely feels a lot bigger than the one I had, but I am so pleased to get into it and discover that 20 years later, they've still kept the character,
Yeah.
and they've still kept it fun. Now, they're struggling in a few places here. I have to point out the big central gauge that in the one I had was your primary speedo. And then there was the little binnacle of stuff for the drive. It was the tack, and there was a little digital speedo in the middle, and that's all that was there. So they kept that and made that all screen. That's actually new in this car. This one here is maintaining the shape of the old huge speedo, but it's not a huge speedo anymore. What do we do with it? This is the actual execution of square peg and round hole. It is because what they've tried to do is they tried to put a widescreen rectangle inside a circle, and that makes the screen a little too small and a little too dark.
Okay.
But they've kept the character. So then there's the flip side of this huge central circle here. This is a multi-purpose edge. When you're driving it like Paul is now, the edge of the ring is actually doubling your RPM.
Yep.
You can see where your red line is on what this does. But if you change your volume, it shows you your volume in the outside ring. So if we have to, styling-wise, we have to keep that ring. Where do we put the nav screen? Well, in the middle as square peg, round hole. And we'll use the edges to tell you actual driver information, which I never expected them to do that. It's very cool. So that's there. The toggles are here.
The stuff
that was in the very first Mini I have is here. And they tried to kind of walk away from it. Now they've come back and just embraced it fully and said, this is what a Mini is.
Yep.
How do we make it technologically advanced? It's cool.
For power. It's almost instantaneous.
Sounds good, feels good.
Sounds excellent. Again, with the too fast. That's
it's
just
easy.
Too fast.
It's easy, yes.
But the cool thing is, it handles what you're throwing at it. It's not like the car is too small and can't be chucked into a turn.
True.
You've got the tools here to be able to do it. See, it still matches even at low speeds. That's cool. Digital everything. The car needs to go digital. I like the size and shape of your instrument panel now. Doing this actually puts the gauges back to where you're used to looking at them, and it leaves everything else open for nav and putting a square screen or rectangular screen in here.
Square peg, round hole, man. I'm telling you, there it is, right there. And the other problem is if they got rid of this central circle, then we would all be crying about the fact that it used to have one, it used to be cool, and now they've left it. So this is one of those difficult things you just have to embrace here, and they've done a decent job.
So you'll notice when you're parked and you pull the handbrake that it encroaches on your armrest here. So when you take it off, you kind of have to put this out of the way
There's
to
a
get the
negotiation
handbrake
that
off.
goes on, yes.
As the compromise, you could make this shorter, but you kind of need it that long. It's pretty small in here, so when you pull the handbrake, it engages with your armrest here, but that's all right. Everything is so well laid out. It's like a designer's playpen.
Absolutely.
They just kind of went nuts in here and just had fun. You can tell this car is just about fun. It's not offensive. You feel happy driving this thing.
Got the designers in a room, poured out a big bucket of circles and said, have fun with circles. And they did great.
You still get the knobs, you still get the hot dog shape. Just everything relates. People had fun designing this, and there's still a good amount of space.
For the size of this car, the back seats shouldn't be this good.
Well, you got to get over here and drive this thing.
Great.
Circles. Circles and swoops. Swoops. Yeah, cool.
When I'm in this, especially thinking back on the one that I owned, I feel like the Mini has reached adulthood. And what I mean by that is the one I had was like the little kid Mini. And then it went through the awkward teenage years. The styling got, we're not sure what we want to do. We're trying to make it bigger, but we're not sure about the shapes. And the front got really busy. And the back got these huge taillights. They were massive taillights.
True.
And now they've settled out.
Got the Union Jack still on these taillights.
Yes, for sure.
Cool.
They've gotten through the awkward teenage years, and now everything looks like adult and attractive and good and larger, and it all still works, and it still has that Mini character. I'm fascinated by the fact that that character exists, because I've driven a lot of Minis between the one I had and the one now.
Sure.
And I always felt like the one I had, that early one, the very first one when BMW released it, that was the business. And the rest of them after that were just styling exercises.
Right.
But I feel like they're finding it again. I struggle with this clutch.
It's 1-to-1. You can feel the rotation. You just let it out.
You're right.
Instantly.
You're right. But that's because
like that.
the clutch travel is this big and the catch point is this big.
Yeah.
It's a tiny, tiny catch point in the middle of a long travel.
It just wants to move.
Taking a little bit of getting used to. But the other thing I started thinking about in this is a $40,000 car. So on one level, in the world of hot hatches, that's the upper level of hot hatches.
Up there, yeah.
So that's a problem. However, I started thinking about this in relation to its parent company.
Okay.
In relation to BMW.
Sure.
This is a $40,000 BMW product.
Yeah.
That makes it less expensive than most of the entry-level BMWs.
Yeah.
And here's my big point. If you're looking at an entry-level BMW, the 2 Series Grand Coupe, which has chassis components shared with this, or the X1, or the X2,
Okay.
this is what you should buy.
Yeah.
Cheaper, more interesting, and dynamically better across the board. This is the best cheap BMW being sold because it has personality, it has chuckability, it has good driving dynamics that BMW doesn't always do. It shares chassis components with the 2 Series Grand Coupe, which is pretty much terrible across the board, especially for the price.
Yeah.
This has more space than that does.
Yeah.
But here's the crazy thing. This is the best Bmw Shifter on the market.
Yes.
The BMW 6-speeds are a little bit rubbery. This is not rubbery in the least.
This has some mechanical feel to it.
Yes, it does. And as soon as you get used to that very instant clutch take-up, this has a really wonderful shifter to work with, better than the rest of the BMW line, price no object. I can't believe that I feel that, but the more I started to go, this isn't an expensive hot hatch, this is an affordable BMW. And then it opened up to me, and I was like, we should all be driving these. Why don't we all have minis?
Yeah.
That's where this car shines, because BMW still makes some great driving product, but you're spending 60 and up to get into the really good stuff from BMW, talking about new. This is 40 grand, all the boxes checked, and it is fun across the board.
See, you chuck it in.
It does.
It's
I
your
wish I didn't have this
Chuckwagon.
guy. That's a bummer. That's disappointing.
That's a bummer.
I gotta wait a minute
You
because he's
wanted
gonna
to
throw.
hit it.
I
Yeah.
did. He's gonna throw rocks and dirt at me. I know he is.
Yeah.
The Mini I had one little circle that was the tack with the speed in the middle. This has been oblong shaped
bulbous
now,
thing on top
and
of
it
your
was
steering
gauges
wheel.
for a few years. Now it's this really thin screen, which is great. That sounds
great. It's fun just sitting here.
Yeah, it is.
It's fun to drive, but it's
car
fun
to be in.
enjoyable just to sit here. You're
Yes.
engaged in the driving experience.
Legitimately,
See?
that's faster than I thought I was going.
Yeah. It hides its speed in a little car.
Yeah, it does.
I'm thinking about your BMW comment. That's brilliant.
I think that's where it shines.
This is their creative outlet.
It feels like this is where they're having fun.
Division is their entire creative outlet, and they can make no apologies. If you like it, great. If you don't, fine.
It's fine.
It is undeniably fun, and it's so usable. You can drive this all year long. Put winter tires on it.
Yes.
Drive it all year long.
I did that like crazy. And
what else are you looking for in a sports car?
Nobody's mad at the guy in the Mini.
Yeah.
I mean, this
Yes.
is, look, seriously.
Yes.
But this is an upgrade from you spent 25, 30 grand and you got a hot hatch. It feels a little plasticky and you wish it was a little bit nicer inside.
Sure.
This solves all that.
Yeah.
But it still has that hot hatch character. It still has the Mini quirkiness. I'll give you an example. Sunshade. But that doesn't work over here. Sunshade.
That's right.
That's a Mini thing. They still have it because they still have this shape.
Yeah.
The more I drove this whole week, I just thought, Mini is just endearing. And I feel like they were lost in the wilderness a little bit and it wasn't quite what it should be, but this one has all that magic and has become modern. I don't love that 40 grand price, but this is the all-in version. And I really do think the thing that recalibrated it for me was just going, this is not an expensive hot hatch. It's a cheap, proper BMW. And at that point, I go, this is a bargain.
I love that.
It's a really fun car.
It's a sports car.
Yes, and I don't know if you want to, but you can go down out of sport into mid, and it already is kind of softer and less frantic, and you can even go into eco green mode, and the gauge changes down here. Yes,
minimalism.
Yes, minimalism. But this is a multi-gauge here in front of me now. It used to just be the old tack. Now it's tack, speedo, multi-information screen, fuel, and then all kinds of stuff changes around the center part depending on what you want to do.
Sure.
Also, a lot of cars don't do this. On a 6-speed manual, you can glance and see what gear you're in. Now, generally, if you're driving a manual, you probably know, but right here beside the speed is what gear you're in. Have you ever had that thing where you're driving along on the freeway and you're in 4th and you forget about it, you've got 2 higher gears, and you may as well just be in 6th. You can look down here and be like, oh, I am in 4th. Oh, you just get used to it. I do. You just get used to the drone and you forget about it. Wireless Apple CarPlay, and it all works great. I love that the toggles are back. It's just endearing.
I literally forgot how good these are.
Some of them have not been this good.
They
and
have.
This
I
one
guess I
is
kind of had
really good.
Ignored it, and now
sport mode, a little bit of power.
Yeah.
after that very first
Induction
gen,
noise.
yeah, after that very first gen, which was a supercharger, which I actually kind of preferred that a little bit. They've been turbos ever since. The second gen had a lot of turbo reliability problems. Now we're talking about kind of universal engines from the BMW lineup as well. They seem to work pretty well and be fairly reliable, but the power here is undeniable.
I want this car.
It's just, this is
It's the
undeniably
go-to
fun.
car.
It's just undeniably fun. And I really think as we so bemoan what's happened with BMW's lineup as they've walked away from every car is fun, this is the bastion. You've said this is the outlet.
This is their creative
and I
outlet.
really think that's fascinating. And it just feels taut without being punishing. And you get up in the sporty setting or something and you just feel like, I like this, but for a lot of my driving, I'm going to need to tone it down. You could drive this like this all the time.
Leave it here, yeah.
Just have a fun day. This is the BMW we should all be buying. Do not buy that 2 Series Grand Coupe. That's a
get this
disaster. You should
Get
have
a Mini.
this. You should have this.
If you need to carry bullion, a lot of your gold bullion around, clearly the Mini is still the car to do it, right? I have a collection of gold bullion. I've got a large stash.
I don't know that this still fits in like drain pipes and stuff, but you know, it
Probably
has
not.
gotten bigger, but it is
It's got
still
a little bit bigger, but
pretty impressive. Yeah.
you know.
In the modern time, this is still a small car. In the pantheon of minis, this is a big Mini.
Nobody's gonna look at this and think that's full of gold,
Nobody will. Nope.
but you could.
Watch The Italian Job. You'll catch up. It'll be fine.